My name's Adam Reed, 29 years old back in 2018, working in a mid-sized office in Leeds, England, saving up for my wedding. It was a decent job, flexible hours, good pay, and a boss, Mark, who was more friend than manager. I prided myself on being professional, friendly to everyone, from the CEO to the cleaners. But a temp named Chloe, hired to cover maternity leave, decided I was her enemy for no reason. She flooded Mark with fake complaints, doctored emails, and tried to get me fired. I played it smart, gathered evidence, and watched her crash and burn, escorted out screaming. Years later, she called begging for a reference. My answer? A hard no. This is how I outwitted a nutcase and won. It all started in early 2018. I'd been with the company, a logistics firm, for 3 years, handling supply orders, staff schedules, and conference setups. My role was fluid. I wasn't tied to a desk, often working late or weekends, banking flexi hours to take time off when needed. Mark and I had a system. I'd log my hours, clear them with him, and skip the messy paperwork our complicated leave system required. The office was small, about 30 people, and we got along like a loose family. I made a point to greet everyone, crack jokes, keep the vibe light. When Chloe joined as executive assistant to the deputy CEO, Laura, I welcomed her like I did everyone. She was 21, eager, a bit full of herself, acting like her temp role gave her clout. I spoke to her maybe twice, polite, quick chats, before she turned on me. A week after she started, Mark pulled me aside, brow furrowed. Adam, Chloe's emailing me daily complaints about you. I was stunned. Complaints? I barely knew her. He showed me her emails. I was slacking, unprofessional, ignoring tasks. All lies. She claimed I'd missed meetings I wasn't invited to, botched orders I'd never touched. Mark trusted me. We grabbed beers outside work, and he was as baffled as I was. "Why you, mate?" he asked. I had no clue, but it was personal. Chloe sent 3, sometimes 4 emails a day, demanding I be warned or disciplined. Mark dismissed them, but we knew we had to watch her. I kept my distance, staying extra professional, but the attacks kept coming. The first red flag was a Friday afternoon. I needed to leave early, using flexi hours from a weekend shift. I approached Chloe in person, asking her to cover a simple task, passing some files to a client. She smiled, all sweetness. "No problem, Adam." I called Mark, confirmed she'd agreed, and left. That evening, he rang me, pissed. "Chloe came to me saying you vanished. Didn't assign the task, and where the hell were you?" I told him we'd spoken face to face. She denied it, then complained I was never at my desk, inventing days I was absent. My time logs proved her wrong, and Mark checked with Tom, who sat next to Chloe. Tom confirmed I'd spoken to her. She was lying, and now we had proof. Chloe's behavior got weirder. Our office supplied long-life milk and coffee, but staff brought their own snacks, clearly stated at induction. I ran the supply orders, including tea and coffee for meetings, and kept fresh milk in the fridge because I couldn't stand the powdered stuff. Chloe started emailing me, whining that staff supplies like milk and snacks were running out, demanding I restock. I replied each time, "That's my personal milk. Use a bit if you need, but bring your own." She insisted the company owed her everything: milk, microwave meals, even biscuits. Other staff noticed their food disappearing too. Jake, from accounting, lost half his lunch stash. Chloe was pilfering, then blaming me for not providing enough. Her emails to Mark escalated, now copying other managers. She fabricated conversations, claiming I'd ignored her requests or been rude. The worst was when she started doctoring my emails. She'd forward my replies, tweaking words to make me sound lazy or hostile, then claim I'd sent them. Mark caught it early. He'd walk over with a printout, and I'd show my original email, untouched. We brought in Tom or Jake to verify. covering our backs. We started noting server backup tape numbers for each day's emails, knowing we might need to pull records. Chloe's lies were piling up, but her boss, Laura, admitted to ignoring her complaints, not wanting to rehire, with only 2 months left on Chloe's contract. The office was poorly managed. Laura and the CEO were hands-off, letting Chloe run wild. I didn't care much. My wedding was 6 months away, and I planned to quit after. But I wasn't about to let this temp ruin me. Then, chaos hit. Laura took sudden personal leave, replaced by a new deputy CEO, Helen, who didn't know the office dynamics. Days later, the original EA quit, and Chloe was offered a new 3-month contract with probation, gunning for a permanent role. With Laura gone, she went into overdrive, backdating emails to make it look like I'd been dodging her for months, copying Helen in as if I'd been CC'd all along. Her complaints grew nastier, claiming I'd undermined her, ignored her authority. Behind closed doors, she'd smirk, muttering jabs about my work ethic. I kept a running log, every email, every lie, every witness. Mark and I killed her with kindness, waiting for her to overplay her hand. The breaking point came over, of all things, milk. I'm a milk guy. Judge me if you want, but a cold glass with lunch is my thing. One day I grabbed my carton from the fridge as Chloe stood in the kitchen. As I walked out, she snapped, "Don't you think it's rude to take it all? Other staff might want some." I'd had a rough day, and her nonsense pushed me over. "You're too dense to read emails," I shot back. "It's mine, not for staff." She sneered, "We'll see who's stupid," and stormed off. I texted Mark, "D-Day's here." An hour later, the outsourced HR rep, Susan, walked in, beelining for Helen's office, without her usual chat at my desk. I knew what was coming. Mark had our evidence ready. Hundreds of pages, neatly organized. Susan and Helen called me in. Chloe sitting there, fake tears streaming, a thick folder of proof in front of her. Helen, stone-faced, listed Chloe's complaints. I'd ignored her, botched tasks, been hostile. She cited dates, times, emails. Chloe's fabricated saga. Susan nodded, buying the act. I stayed calm, asking them to read every complaint aloud before I responded. They hesitated, but agreed. For 30 minutes, Chloe sobbed, painting me as a bully who'd made her life hell, claiming the company let me abuse her. It was a masterclass in victimhood, but I sat still, letting her dig her grave. When they finished, I asked for Mark to join us. He walked in with our stack, my original emails, time logs, invoices proving her task-related complaints were lies, and a list of server tape numbers to verify her forgeries. I laid out the truth. Chloe had lied from day one, doctored emails, stolen food, and targeted me for no reason. I showed emails between me and Laura, proving her boss knew about her antics. "If you need more," I said, "Tom, Jake, and others can confirm every point." Susan and Helen exchanged looks, faces paling. "We don't need you anymore, Adam," Susan said. Chloe's tears turned to rage. She screamed I was lying, then claimed I'd hit on her and was retaliating for her rejection. When that flopped, she ranted about a staff conspiracy, listing times we'd hung out without her, claiming harassment. It was unhinged, an hour of shrieking about being the office Cinderella, bullied by everyone. Helen and Susan didn't buy it. They sent me out, and 20 minutes later, Chloe was marched to her desk, still wailing, to grab her phone and bag. The whole office, 30 staff, watched as she was escorted out, banshee screams echoing. Mark clapped my shoulder. "Well played, mate." I grinned, feeling lighter than I had in months. Weeks later, Helen apologized, admitting they'd mishandled Chloe's chaos. My job was secure, and I rode it out until my wedding, quitting 6 months later for a better gig. Years on, in 2025, Chloe called a coworker, demanding a reference and threatening an unfair dismissal claim. Mark shut her down. No reference, no chance. I'm long gone, married, happy and thriving. Chloe thought she could frame me, ruin my career with lies, and waltz into a permanent job. Instead, I exposed her, turned her lies into her downfall, and walked away untouchable. That moment, watching her hysterics as she was dragged out, was worth every second of her nonsense. Thanks, Chloe. You taught me how to outsmart a snake and win.